Oh my God. Like talking about it, just, you were talking and just reminds me of growing up, right? I grew up in Nigeria. Um, so where we lived was called a compound. That's what we called it,
Yep.
compound, right?
Hmm.
So it's a compound because of it's like U-shaped, and maybe they were like, I would say, let's think about it. They're like maybe 15, 20 rooms, and maybe
Hmm.
each family had two rooms. Right? So I had two rooms, or sometimes maybe you find somebody single, they have one room. And we grew up where there was power supply was always erratic, right? So
Hmm.
most times there was no power, and we would all come to the middle of the what we call our compound, which is like an open space, and we would sit down there at night. We will share stories, like under the moonlight, talk about stories, did this. People were sleeping on mats on the floor because of there was no power. It was hot inside the house, but that was community, right? It
Hmm.
was community around there. I still remember that you want to eat in your house, there are no spoons, there are no plates. My mom would say, can you go to we had this family friends name is Chigos. They were like, can you go to Chigos' house and get our plates? We will go into their house and start looking for our plates, our
Hmm.
spoons, and you take that to your house. They will come to our house to check for their things. But that was how I grew up.
Hmm.
I grew up in community. I know the importance of community. And growing up in those spaces where, there was poverty, there was people who had the need of many things. How the only way people survived was everybody supporting one another. Oh, I don't have salt to cook today. Can you go to the next door?
Yeah.
And, they're going to give you salt. They're going to give you pepper. They're going to give you this, to help you cook so that you could have a meal in your house. That was how I grew up. That was how I saw life. And you know what, Lisa? That is how I still see life. Because
Hmm.
everywhere I go, I still want to talk about community because I know how important. If not for community, there are many of us that will not live up to today. There are many of us that we will not see today. And it's so easy to think that, well, that was Nigeria, this is Canada, and all of that.
Hmm.
But I've come to realize that the fundamentals of love and kindness and peace are the same wherever you are, irrespective of the level of development or irrespective of whether you have power or not. Those fundamentals still remain the same. Community is key.